All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Friday, May 24th. Happy Friday to everyone out there. We have a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the side, give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props in the game as well. But as always, guys, keep an eye on the pinned comment. If you do want to do the opposite of what I say, all my final plays will be in there. You can go ahead and fade me. Keep an eye on that pinned comment. Fading me wasn't the best for business last night as we go 4-1. The Mariners and Yankees over 7.5. Didn't ever really look like it had promise, but it had a chance the whole game. So not the worst look there, but Pirates first 5 money line and Joey Bart. Those kind of correlated there. I think it was either bottom of the third or fourth, Joey Bart hits a grand slam to put the Pirates up, and then they ultimately hold on to it and then lose the game. They blow it. So luckily we were on the first 5 there. Phillies first 5 continues to cash for us, and then Jays Tiger, really good spot there. So 4-1 night. We'll take it. We've been in need of like a nice, good, dominant MLB night, right? We've been kind of teetering on the edge there. Unfortunately, our ride of the day, tough one here. Coming in from my man Reason, always throwing bangers out in the comments, and I see you, Reason. So let's not fret on the fact that this is just one bad one, right? Because I've seen some bangers come from you. But Alex Bohm here, over 2.5 hits, runs, and RBIs. I think he has an 0 for 4 night. Didn't have any hits or runs or RBI, so unfortunate there. You got to face the womp-womp, but it was a well-researched pick, and we jumped on board, guys. If you don't know what the ride of the day is, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me an absolute banger of a play. I'm jumping on board with one person's pick and giving you a shout-out in the next video, win or loss. Also shouting you out over on my Twitter at FGuyBoston if you guys want to follow me there. It'll be rotating through here throughout the show. But like I said, big slate to jump into. We had a short slate yesterday because it was a Thursday. Now we're back with some new series here on a Friday. Let's go ahead and jump right into it. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. I know I said it a bunch of times, but still, guys, in awe of 75,000. So appreciate the hell out of you guys. If you are new, hit that subscribe button. Make sure you're hitting the like button as well. Let's jump into game number 1 here. We got Detroit taking on Toronto. On the mound for Detroit is going to be Matt Manning. He hasn't had the best of seasons thus far, but one little bright spot I will say, he's a lot better against right-handed hitters, and Toronto has a lot of righties in the lineup, only a couple lefties. Going up against Alek Manoah, who hasn't had the best, last 2 years track record, but he's been okay as of late. So I don't think that this is really much of a pitching duel or matchup or much edge there either way. I think that I'm going to turn to the offenses, which Detroit in the last 30 days, pretty good, which is weird to say against right-handed pitchers. If we jump into the dashboard here, you can see right-handed pitchers last 30 days, they're kind of like top 10 in a lot of key stats like average, WRC plus, on base, OPS, right, slugging. So I think this might be an opportunity to fade a pitcher that definitely has struggled in the past, Alek Manoah, even though he's had 2 really good starts back-to-back. Like, I'll give him his flowers there. But for a plus money flyer on Detroit, I think that's going to be the move here. And the Detroit Tigers are definitely due for some sort of a win. I think they've lost like 5 straight games. So give me Detroit on the money line. When it comes to a total, neither one of these pitchers I expect to like hold down the fort all that well. Detroit's bullpen's decent, but I'm still going to lean slightly towards the over. But just full transparency, I'm much more likely to pull the trigger on Detroit money line. Not necessarily to bat Matt Manning, but almost to fade Manoah, which it is what it is. Much more likely to pull the trigger on them than the total. One player prop that I don't mind, and it is a plus money play. It's plus 100 actually over on FanDuel right now. Bo Bichette over 1.5 bases. In his last 2 games, he has 8 bases, okay? And he's going up against a right-handed pitcher. His average jumps from 233 to 268 on the season, and he's hitting fastballs, which he does not strike out much against, so I do think he's going to be able to get on base. So give me Bo Bichette over 1.5 bases. Again, that's plus money on FanDuel. I'd probably play that to like minus 105, but a lot of other books already have this in the minus 115, minus 120 range. Definitely lose a little bit of value in my opinion at that price, but yeah, I like Bo Bichette over 1.5 bases for the plus number. Next up, we have Pittsburgh taking on Atlanta. Bailey Falder on the mound for Pittsburgh. Atlanta looks like it's projected to be Bryce Elder, but we don't have that confirmed yet. I've also seen Darius Vines, so we don't know who's pitching for Atlanta. Either way, I do think that I'm going to lean in Atlanta's direction here. Minus 160 is what the price actually, what's an updated line? Minus 155. They've won 3 of their last 4 here, and we saw what Pittsburgh can do, right? They can get up early, just like yesterday, and just piss the game away, honestly. So I think this could be a spot to get Atlanta at somewhat of a fair price tag. I know minus 155 is still crazy juiced, but I'm going to lean towards Atlanta almost regardless who's on the mound. Both of these offenses, you could say I've been struggling the last 30 days. At least Atlanta has some redeeming qualities against lefties, which that's the pitcher we know, right? Bailey Faulkner on the mound. Not to say that he's had, bad looks this year. Like, he honestly has had some really good starts. He has a really good home ERA. I believe, I don't have it, the actual number, but I believe it's sub-1, which, again, like, give him credit there. But overall, I do think Atlanta's bats, they can hit lefties well, and their bats haven't been living up to like their name, right? So I think at some point Atlanta's going to turn it on to some degree. Could be today against a Pittsburgh team that doesn't necessarily have, the firepower to keep up with them if that were to happen. In terms of a total, it's at 9.5. These pitchers, and again, I'm thinking Vines or Elder, right? Like, that's my mind, those two options for the Braves and Bailey Faulkner. Like, I'm thinking these guys will both give up around 3 runs. That puts us at 6 before we even get to the bullpen. Pittsburgh bullpen isn't all that great. Atlanta's is. I'm going to lean over, but kind of like the first game, and I hate to do it, but I'm just going to be honest, right? I don't think that makes its way into being a final play. I think that that's just going to stay as a lean for now. And then no player props that I'm loving as of right now in this game. All right, Washington taking on Seattle here. George Kirby's on the mound for Seattle, so obviously we can kind of look at him and say, yeah, let's ride with Seattle. I don't know if I agree with the price right now at -140, but I am having trouble getting an angle towards Washington, so I'm going to lean towards Seattle in this spot, trusting George Kirby. Again, -140 is the price. I guess that's fair. Going up against Mackenzie Gore here. Mackenzie Gore has some good starts in the year, so I don't really want to take away from him, but he also has some starts that are like questionable in this spot, right, or on the season. So give me Seattle here. I think that their offense is, and this is splitting hairs, offense is that much better when it comes to their last 30 days of batting, and they're going to throw, and Mackenzie Gore's, if he is the pitcher, I think he's still, it hasn't been confirmed, we're doing this early. Mackenzie Gore going to throw like 70% fastballs. I do think that Seattle will be able to catch on to that, and a couple times through the lineup be able to get to him in the third, fourth inning type of thing. And we have George Kirby on their side, which I do think is a trustworthy pitcher. So give me Seattle on the money line. I wouldn't play them past -140, but if you can snag them at -140, I do think that could be a good move. Their bullpen's decent as well. Let me see if their bullpen is taxed after their series against New York, because we don't have that in the notes. Yeah, 4 guys in their bullpen went yesterday, but no one's really pitched that many times out of the last. Like, the most important guys in the bullpen pitched 2 days ago, so I think they're okay from a bullpen perspective. Seattle money line is going to be my lean here. In terms of what we're looking at from a total perspective, I think George Kirby kind of shuts down Washington. So if you can get a Washington under team total, I'd say right now, you're looking at probably a line of 3.5. I don't mind that, but you're not paying great money, right? -130. But I think that this one stays under the number. The problem is that it's 7.5, right? So maybe this could be like a first 5 team total under 2.5 or something for Washington, or just in general, the first 5 under, which you'll be able to get at right around under 4.5. So I don't mind that, because I think Kirby kind of locks it down today. It's just a matter of, can Gore do it or not? Next, we have Tampa Bay. My voice just cracked out, huh? Next, we have Tampa Bay taking on Kansas City here. Seth Lugo on the mound for Kansas City, who I've come to trust in this spot, or not just in this spot, but like on this team, especially against a lineup like Tampa Bay that I don't really, anyone can say that you can't really trust the offense so far, right? They've kind of ramped up in terms of how they did in that Red Sox series, 0, 2, 5. But prior to that, like, it's been so sporadic. They were giving you, for, I want to say 2 series before the Sox series, they were giving you a decent, floor of 4 runs, something like that. But overall, when they face a good pitcher, I just can't seem to trust them offensively. And Seth Lugo, for all intents and purposes, has been a damn good pitcher. And on the season, he's got a 1.79 ERA. He's pitched even better on the road, which is good to see. So for a price tag at -115 for the Royals, who I think their offense is better even against righties, which they're going up against Sean Armstrong today. Like, I think this is a spot in which you can get the Royals for a decent price. Now, Armstrong's obviously just going to go out there and pitch 1 to 2 innings. I think Alexander is going to be the primary today, which he's a lefty, so it switches up a little bit. But nonetheless, I'm trusting Lugo in this spot. He's got 7 wins this season, 7-1 with a 1.79 ERA. Like, I'm trusting the pitcher. Give me them on the money line. Total sitting at 8. I think this one stays under because, again, kind of just like the Seattle game, like, I'm looking at one pitcher that I really like in this matchup and saying, you know what? I'm trusting him, sticking with him. Let's ride with that. So I'm going to lean towards the under as well, but considering trying to find a way to play Tampa Bay's team total under because I don't want to limit the Royals if we're also liking their obviously the money line, right? So I'll lean towards the under. Would rather Tampa Bay's under some degree, but Kansas City money line, trust in Lugo, maybe even Kansas City money line in the first 5 because neither one of these bullpens are that great. In fact, Kansas City's got the second worst whip out of the bullpen this season, so maybe it's a first 5 play, honestly, if we get there. And a player prop I don't mind here, and again, like sometimes you guys call me on the comments, but like I get too deep into a narrative of a game, but I like Seth Lugo's over 5.5 strikeouts. If we jump into Outlier, by the way, guys, this tool, link in the pinned comment, you'll get 7 days free. It's my favorite player prop research tool out there. But if you look at his last 5 starts, right, go to last 5, he's got 9-9, finished under on the hook, 12 and 10 strikeouts, and you have a team that's, bottom 10 in the league in terms of K percentage. I don't mind this spot. My problem is you go to fastball, okay, a lot of their strikeout rates don't really drop. Sinker, their strikeout rates don't really drop. Sliders, where we see some red numbers, and cutter as well, but I just think that he's going to be able to pitch deep into the games. Like, look at these innings, right? He had 10 strikeouts in 5 2/3 last game against Oakland. Like, the dude's been giving you 6-7 innings overall, so I like Seth Lugo in this spot to have at least 6 strikeouts. We'll see if that makes its way into being a final play, because again, I don't want to go like head first into a narrative and all of a sudden, if Lugo has a bad game, all of a sudden we lose the player prop, we lose the money line, and we probably end up losing the total too. So I like the spot, I trust it, but like having a bunch of bets on one game ain't always the move, you know what I mean? But by the way, guys, I do want to shout out Outlier again. I know you just saw it, but seriously, this tool is amazing. They have every single player prop offered, even stuff for games, right? You can look at game trends, where the money is, where the bets are, but I like it for the player props the most. You can go through and say, okay, let's set our odds to -150 and below, right? You can go through, okay, Luis Arraez, over 1.5 bases. See what he's done. He's done it in 9 straight games, or 8 straight games, 9 of his last 10. On the season, he's done it in, X amount. You can even look at his batter to pitcher matchup. So this was probably one that we'd end up passing on, right? Doesn't have the best record against Rodon. He's only batting 206 plate appearances, 1 total base. You have him against lefties on the season. His average drops substantially. You can even look at the pitch mix with heat map. So go check out Outlier, guys. I'm telling you, this is an amazing app. You have it on your phone as well as obviously we're using it on the computer here. You get 7 days free if you use the link in the pinned comment. But the great thing is that even after that 7 days is over, right? I know you're going to fall in love with it. That's the problem. People sign up for 7 days thinking, I'm going to use this for 7 days. No, you're going to be on the hook and you're going to be hooked. But it's $19.99 after that. Like, there's no other tools out there that are that well priced. So go check it out, guys. Link in the pinned comment. It's also in the description if it's easier for you to find it there. But let's go ahead and jump back into the rest of these games. Next up, we have the Boston Red Sox taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Red Sox kind of heavily favored here, which kind of turns me off from it, but I still do think that they have the edge in this spot. They have the better bullpen. Their bats seem to be working right now, and I'd say the better pitcher on the mound, Cutter Crawford against Bryce Wilson here. Both their ERAs look pretty good, but you look into FIP and extended numbers and whatnot, I do think that this is a spot for Cutter Crawford. Now, I've said all along that at some point, some of these Red Sox pitchers, they have to be due for regression, right? Like, they can't continue this pace up and pitching as well as they are. But for now, until we see that, like, I do think it's still safe to roll with the Red Sox. You have them sweeping Tampa Bay, and honestly kind of winning all of those games by a decent amount of runs, right? 5-0, 5-2, 8-5. Milwaukee has lost 6 of their last 10. They just lost a series to Miami. So at some point, I think, the hot team prevails, and I think this could be a spot for them today. Like I said, a better bullpen as well, which is something we love to see. If you look at their bullpen overall, nobody pitched, obviously, yesterday. Milwaukee, in terms of how taxed some of their guys are, nobody pitched yesterday either. So you should have full bullpens from both sides. I'll take the Red Sox bullpen, even though I'm not saying Milwaukee's bullpen's bad. I still think they're like a top 12-ish bullpen in the league. But Red Sox, as of right now, both their starters and bullpen are exceeding expectations, and we're well into, almost into June here. So shout out to them. Give me the Red Sox here on the money line. In terms of the total, when you look at both these offenses, top 10 teams against the hand that the pitcher's throwing, which is a righty for both when it comes to WRC+. So I could see some runs being created in this spot here. So I'm going to lean towards the over, but it's at 9.5. this is an over that I would have pegged at more 8.5. But if I think like, 9 runs is a floor, then I can't really, tip my nose at a 9.5, right? So kind of like we've said a couple times, I'm not in love with the over, but I can't really justify the under because in the back of my head, I have that Carter Crawford's due for regression. I don't think Bryce Wilson's going to be all that great today, and both these offenses are decent. So I'm going to lean over, but I'd much rather pull the trigger on Red Sox money line, which I feel like I've said a couple times, but you know what? Just being honest. All right, Twins taking on the Rangers. This is a tough one here because I do like the Twins spot. They have Bailey Ober on the mound going up against Jose Arena. Like, this should be a Twins spot all day long, even though their offense has kind of struggled in multiple spots as of late. But overall, that price at -155 is just gross. So I'd still lean Twins, but honestly, I don't think that's I think they're priced out. Like this Twins offense, they have the one, I forget how many, like 11 runs or something in that Washington series. But other than that, they've barely sniffed 3. So I don't want to pay 150 for a team that could easily cap out at like 3 runs today, right? And just have to trust Bailey Ober. But I can't really make a lane to Texas. Like their bullpen's far worse than Minnesota's. Texas against the pitch mix for Bailey Ober, not all that great. The changeup they stink at, the fastball they stink at. They hit splitters, curves, and knuckle curves well. Bailey Ober doesn't throw any of those. So to me, it's a spot for Minnesota, but they might be priced out. In terms of the total, I kind of touched on it there, talking about how these teams, or this team, like struggles to score runs. I could see Minnesota winning this game like 4-3, or 4-2, 3-2, that type of thing. So I'm going to lean under. Worries me to some degree that we're looking at, Jose Arena, who obviously isn't like the best of pitchers, but he's been good in his last, actually just to start the year, right? So hopefully he can kind of pull his weight and carry his water, because I do trust what Ober has in a bounce back spot. I forget who they played last, but he had a bad outing, so kind of looking for him to return to norm, and then Arena to keep doing what he's doing. That should result in an under with 2 offenses that are, not even close to being powerhouses. So give me the under in this spot. I probably like that more than Minnesota money line because Minnesota's priced out at this point in my brain. All right, Cincinnati taking on the Dodgers. I really don't know what to make of this Dodgers team. Obviously, they're going to be good long term and yada, 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 right? But to me, it's like they're coming off of that spanking from Arizona. They lose 2 straight. Cincinnati lost 2 straight against San Diego, so it's not like I can really make the best argument for Cincinnati. But we have 2 pitchers that I do think have some, I don't want to say issues, but James Paxton, like his ERA, this is why I think that ERAs can be pretty misleading. He has an ERA of 2.8 on the year. You're like, that's great, right? But he's got a whip of 1.4. That's, middle of the road, too bad. FIP of 5.14, an expected FIP of 5.43, a K rate of 13%. Like, this isn't really a spot in which I look at him and I say, okay, you know what? Like, he's going to go out there and crush it overall. Like, I don't think that he has the best outing, even against a bad Cincinnati lineup. So this is a spot in which I think that, Cincinnati may be the flyer play, because I don't know if you can justify the price tag for the Dodgers right now. Again, like, they're -170. That's way too much to be paying. If you can get them for -150 or whatnot, there's a huge gap in offense, right? But for Paxton, like, I think you look at ERA, you think that, good, they have a really good pitcher on the mound against a bad lineup, like Dodgers all the way. I'm kind of calling BS on what Paxton has to offer right now. But the offense, no one's going to make an argument that the LA offense isn't good, even though they just scored 0 runs. So if you can get them for a good price, I like LA. But if you have to pay -160, actually flip to it and say, you know what? There's a chance that Cincinnati could put up some runs on the board and get to him. So that's how I lean in that one, depending on the price that you get. In terms of total, it's at 10 right now. Sure, I'll lean towards the over. I'm more or less fading the pitchers. Graham Ashcraft on the mound. Did I say Ashcraft? I meant to say Ashcraft on the mound for Cincinnati. So 2 pitchers that I could easily see getting got in the first few innings, and then leave it up to the bullpens. LA's is good. Cincinnati's isn't. I'm going to lean over, but honestly, that number at 10 doesn't really, move the needle. I feel like that was more of like a Dodgers rant than a game breakdown, but you know what? How we do it around here. Not the brightest bulb, but the bulb's always on, right? Does that make sense? Comment light bulb if you made it this far in the video, because I'm losing steam, obviously. Mets taking on San Francisco. While this definitely isn't the best spot for San Francisco, I do think that this could be, if we forget the fact that they're playing on a back-to-back and had to travel to New York and all that, for +120, like there's some decent looks here, right? Like, this is a team that's won 7 of their last 10. They've come from behind now and won multiple games against the Pirates. Like, this, I think this could be a spot for San Francisco. They're plus 120, and this is a Mets team against a left-handed pitcher. Looks like Kyle Harrison on the mound for San Francisco today. If you know anything about the Mets, don't bet them when they play a lefty. They're 30th in average. In fact, let's jump into the dashboard again. If you guys want access to this dashboard, it's simple. Become a channel member. You get a link posted on the community tab and membership tab on the channel every single day. So $2.99 a month. You literally get a breakdown of each game from a data perspective every single day. So go ahead and become a member if you do want to support. $2.99 a month. But you look at this. 182 average last 30 days against lefties. Dead last in WRC plus, 57. Like, I thought that was a typo. On base percentage, 255. That's second worst. OPS, 531, worst. Slugging, worst. So this is a Mets team that does not hit lefties very well. And Kyle Harrison isn't all that bad, but he is really good against lefties. The Mets not trotting out many lefties in the lineup. So I do think that that's worth considering, but I'm not going to sit here and be like Christian Scott is a stud or Cy Young candidate or anything like that, right? So I think for plus 120, forget the fact that you have a San Francisco team that had to travel and, you know, they kind of had to scrape out 2 wins against Pittsburgh. I think this is a spot for them here. In terms of what Scott did in his last start, I want to say, if I could pull it up. Yeah, Miami kind of got to him, right? 1 home run, 7 hits, 4 earned, 3 strikeouts, pitched over 20 pitches per inning. Like, this should be a spot where they have a slight pitching advantage. Now, from a bullpen perspective, I don't believe that. Like, I think that New York's bullpen is somewhat underrated too. They obviously should be rested here, so take that for what it's worth. Maybe this is a San Francisco first 5 play, but I don't see a lane to the Mets because of how bad they are against lefties, which also leads me into a pretty easy first 5 under. Like, I don't think that they get to Harrison all that much, regardless of how Harrison pitches. Like, Harrison could have a off day, and I think that the Mets still struggle to put up a bunch of runs. Again, like, second to last in WRC plus, or no, last in WRC plus against lefties this year. Give me the under first 5 in this spot. I think you'll get a better number there than if you took the under full game. All right, White Sox taking on Baltimore. Similar to yesterday, I don't have much of a feeling on this game. You have Baltimore, massive favorites. You know, rightfully so. They win yesterday, and now they have Corbin Burnes on the mound today, so I get it. That game yesterday was a lot more runs than I would have thought. You have Chris Flexen on the mound today for the White Sox and Corbin Burnes. Flexen has been shelled plenty of times, but I think Corbin Burnes keeps this White Sox team kind of muted, so I'm going to lean towards the under overall, and then Baltimore probably in some sort of a money line parlay if you want to throw them in there. But like I said, there's such a discrepancy in these two teams that I don't want to spend too much time on it. All right, St. Louis taking on the Cubs here. St. Louis kind of on fire lately, huh? They've won 8 of their last 10. They swept Baltimore, which kind of shocking, right? Like, I don't think anyone saw that coming. And you have the Cubs, who are on a little bit of a bad slide here. Now, Shota Imanaga on the mound. Imanaga, I can't say his name, but I think I did a pretty good job that first attempt on the mound for them today, who I believe in him. He's got a .84 ERA this season, a .91 whip, 2.2 FIP, an expected FIP of 3.14, batting average against of 200. So I think that this is obviously a pitching advantage as he takes on Miles Mikolas for the Cards. So I'm going to lean towards the Cubs, just trusting Imanaga. But this St. Louis team, like, you can't deny what they've been doing. And you could be like, oh, well, look at the teams they played, right? Yeah, I mean, Milwaukee, then the Angels, and the Red Sox, then Baltimore. Like, this, they don't have a easy strength of schedule there, and they've just been kind of crushing it. And that's not even like scoring a bunch of runs. I think they have a couple double-digit games in there, but like, they've just been playing winning baseball, as crazy as that is. So yeah, I lean towards Chicago, but if you're on the side of, well, look at what St. Louis has been doing lately, I totally get that. Now we're looking at a total of 8 runs. I even kind of alluded to it there, right? This is a St. Louis team that's been winning games, but not scoring a crazy amount of runs. Yes, they have the outlier game here and there, but Shota Imanaga should be able to keep them kind of suppressed. And then I'm hoping the Cubs, on the other hand, like, their offense kind of continues to do what it's been doing. Last 5 games here, 1 run, 2 runs, 4 runs, 2 runs, 0 runs scored. So hopefully they can kind of, this is like a 3-1 type of a win for them, right? Because then we'd hit both the money line and the under. And though it can kind of counter how I think Imanaga is going to pitch well, his strikeout line's at 5.5 today. He's hit that in 5 straight starts. I understand that, but this is a St. Louis team that in the last 30 days, 5th best K rate, so against left-handed pitchers. So maybe we consider an under strikeout line for Shota. Is that crazy? All right, next up, we got Colorado taking on Philadelphia. Obviously, we've been cashing with Philly as of late. Another win yesterday. They have Chris Sanchez on the mound today, who has his good starts and bad starts. I think some of his numbers would be like justifiable in a sense, like having a bad game against the Angels in which they were kind of getting hot or that type of thing. Colorado's trotting out Ty Block, who is not very good overall, and this is a Philly team that's, I was going to say batting lefties really well, but they're just batting really well over the last 30 days and batting really well on the road. So I think that this is going to be a spot in which we go with what we've been knowing best, right? Philly first 5 run line. You can get that from -135 over on ESPN right now. Minus first 5 run line is -0.5, okay? We get the question all the time, why not just take them on the money line? Because the difference in odds, and this is another example of why outlier is great, right? If we dive in here, so this is the game we're looking at, Philadelphia, Colorado. We go into match details. First 5, right? So we want to go 5 innings. Money line, -190 for Philadelphia, right? Run line, you can obviously take alternate lines. Oh, it's actually moved up, so we missed the boat there. -0.5 is the run line for -140. So that means they have to win the first 5. They can't be tied. Money line, you'd actually get your money back. It'd be a push if they tied it for the first 5, but we're looking at run line here in this spot. -140, I'd still play it there. I don't know if I'm like, head over heels about it the more and more it gets priced out, but whatever. In terms of a total here, I think you got to look at the over. I always like to fade the altitude. If you guys have been watching for a while, you know that. But I'm also a big, clearly a Phillies fan this season because they've been cashing like crazy for us. So I hope that they can go out there and score 6-7 runs. Then maybe Colorado just stays in it to some degree. So give me Philadelphia on the first 5 run line as well as a peek at the over. But yeah, honestly, if I had to pick one, I think you guys know where I'd stand, right? And from a player prop perspective, I could get convinced of JT Realmuto here over 2.5 bases. If you like his over 3.5 hits, runs, and RBIs, that's not terrible. But total bases for +120. Going up against a left-handed pitcher, his batting average jumps like 100 points. His extra base hit jumps. His ISO jumps substantially. And look at Ty Block against righty batters. Like, this could be a spot. Now, you're asking for a lot, right? You're almost asking for a double and a single or a home run from Realmuto, which home run wise, he's hit a home run in 2 straight, so maybe he keeps it up going to Coors Field. Like, I get it, but overall, like, total bases for a flyer, I could see that. But if I'm being honest, at 2.5 bases, you might as well pull trigger on a home run because I do think that, yes, you can get 3 singles or a double and a single, but I could see him blasting one today as well. But I do like his spot and matchup is what I'm trying to get at here. All right, Angels taking on the Guards here. Patrick Sandoval on the mound for the Angels. I'm definitely always down to fade him. But Logan Allen has just started to pitch. I shouldn't say just started. Was pitching kind of right? And now he has 2 straight games of shutout baseball through 6 innings. So I don't know if I want to totally jump in and trust it. Like, am I jumping on the train too late? Is he due for regression? But either way, I'm down to fade Patrick Sandoval. I'll lean towards Cleveland here for nearly a pick-em in this spot. They've won 66% of the games this year. 3 straight, obviously, and then 58% of their games on the road, and they have a really good bullpen. So trusting the bullpen, trusting who I believe is the hotter pitcher. The bats, I can understand an argument that you might say, well, the Angels' bats are better. I'll give you that for sure. In terms of what they've been doing lately, runs scored wise, they had just 1 game against Texas. I don't know if it was last game, right, was the only low-scoring game that they had, whereas Cleveland's bats look good in that Mets series, actually look pretty good in that Twins. So I guess that now that I say it out loud, just kind of, it's not in the notes, but rethinking it, it's like 6 straight games Cleveland bats were there, so maybe there isn't that much of an edge for the Angels bats-wise. Yeah, give me Cleveland on the money line, trusting Logan Allen, fading Sandoval, trusting the Cleveland bullpen, and then maybe there isn't as much of a LA edge that I thought in terms of the bats. So yeah, I like that spot. Kind of as I even talked that through, I think I just convinced myself of a slight overlean as well. So yeah, give me the over as well as Cleveland in this spot. We love when we can just talk about it and I'm not even reading off for any stats or anything like that. It's like, I just convinced myself. Way to go, Ev. All right, Oakland taking on Houston here. Like we've been saying with some of these games that are a huge discrepancy, I would lean towards just maybe throwing Houston into some sort of money line. Maybe like a Baltimore and Houston money line parlay today. In terms of odds, I don't even know what we'd get. Let's see, I could check that really quickly. Another really cool thing about Outlier, to keep plugging them, you can literally just select here, pick, right? You click those 2 buttons and you could see what you're getting for odds on all the major books. So +119 on BetMGM are your best odds. Say we like that, right? I could click this button, It's literally going to put those plays. I don't know if I'm logged in. No, but it puts those plays. It's from last night. Puts those plays into your bet slip. It's that easy. So go check out Outlier, guys. Again, I've plugged in plenty here because I love the tool. Link in the pinned comment. But maybe we roll with a Houston and Baltimore money line parlay today. You have on the mound for Houston's going to be Justin Verlander. Though he hasn't had the best of season so far, he's still Justin freaking Verlander going up against Ross Stripling, who has struggled. So the Houston bats should be able to put up runs today overall, which I'll lean towards the over too, because this is an Oakland team that I don't really want to tip my nose at their batting. Their batting hasn't been all that poor. So give me the over in this game, which could be a final play in and of itself. But I kind of like Houston and Baltimore for plus money on a parlay there. All right, next up, we have San Diego taking on the Yanks. If you aren't aware, San Diego's still on the do not bet list for another few days, another couple days here, so we will not be betting them. But that's okay, because I think this is the Yankee spot anyways. Overall, though, you're looking at odds. Actually, you're looking at decent odds for the Yankees. I was going to say overall, like, they're kind of, I don't want to pay that price, but minus 120, sure. Like, I could easily see that. But the Yankees playing yesterday after a 4-game series, now going to play San Diego. Like, they were not on the West Coast already, so it's not a best spot for them. But you have Rodon going up against Yu Darvish here. That's going to be the issue, right? So you have a good price for the Yankees. Their bats have been amazing. Yu Darvish has been filthy. So take that information with what you want. Like, we're not betting the Padres because they're on the do not bet list, right? Sue me. I'll lean Yankees, trusting that offense. In terms of a total, it's at 7.5. I think that this is such a clear-cut, like, under type game that I might fade myself. I'll lean over, but obviously you look at this and it's like Yu Darvish on the mound. Even Rodon's been decent, right? That's why it's at 7.5. Yankees traveling. So I could see this being like a spot in which a lot of people are on the under. I'll fade my own initial gut reaction and look at the over. All right, Arizona taking on Miami. Arizona huge favorites in this one. They have Zach Gallen on the mound going up against Braxton Garrett. So I think there's a clear-cut pitching edge. The bullpen should be a little bit closer, and then same thing with the offenses, right? Like, Arizona doesn't hit lefties all that well. But I'll still lean Arizona. But I'm not afraid of pulling the trigger on their run line here. You can get that decent odds right now, plus 116 on FanDuel. So minus 1.5 for Arizona full game. I don't mind. I think Gallen's going to have a decent game. They shouldn't be able to go out there and, tap him up, obviously, being the better pitcher and just, what he can do. And he has 35 plate appearances against the current Marlins roster, 143 average against, an expected batting average today of 251, slugging at 385, but what I like is an expected WOBA at 273, and a WOBA through those 35 plate appearances against 158, so should be a Zach Gallen spot overall. In terms of a total, I think it kind of aligns with an under type of a spot, maybe a 4-2, 5-3 type of a win for Arizona at most, which would be a push in this case, but I'll still lean towards the under. Guys, that's all I have for you today in the MLB. If you did enjoy, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Our videos moving forward for the next, tomorrow, so the next 3 days or so will be road videos. We're heading to a bachelor party, so we'll be recording with our road setup and everything like that. We'll still get the videos out, but FYI, we are heading away for the weekend. But nonetheless, guys, appreciate everyone tuning in. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.